Hello and welcome. My name is Tara and I'm going to be talking about love in this video. And this is a big word. It's a big part of our existence. It's a big feeling that we have within ourselves. It is a big expression of how we express and how we react and interact with the world and with relationships. So it is a very important aspect of our being. And since I've been doing a lot of this work internally, my own journey of transformation and healing, of discovery, of ascension, and working with others, and a lot of observation, I feel that, I know it's going to sound like a general statement, but I feel that a lot of humanity has not felt love growing up, being raised, and experiencing true, authentic, expansive, limitless love. Now, you've caught some of my videos, I'm sure, from the past of talking about how suppressed our society has been, oppressed, how we repress our feelings, how we detach from love if we haven't felt love or if we haven't experienced love as a child. Now, there are so many different results that can occur if we haven't felt love as a child. Now, if you've had a family where you feel that it may have been a loving family, well, it could come from many different ways of maybe not being heard or not being seen or not being recognized for who you really are or were at the time being a child, not being cared for during emotional times, not being felt, not being caressed. There are so many different aspects. There are, of course, more on the extreme side, but even just on the subtle sides, even if I've worked with a few people that have said, well, my family was really loving and I get along with my family. But then when we really went into it, there were still a lot of pieces that were missing when it comes to love, when it comes to the limitless, authentic, pure love. And this is also where we're going. This is where we're transitioning to. So when I look back in the past, when I go back into childhood, look at family dynamics, this is not a fault of parents. This is not a fault of anyone. This is just where we're coming from. This is just the nature of how our lives have been constructed in a very unconscious way. But we're moving out of the unconscious patterns, moving towards understanding and going through transformation within ourselves and as a collective to let go of these patterns of the past, to move towards a more conscious and expansive way of living and way of expressing and feeling. And love is a huge aspect of it because love is the greatest expression of all. Love is unconditional. So if we've grown up in a family dynamic, for example, where there was no love or very little love, and first I want to go into, well, what is love first? That's what I should probably cover before I go into some of the examples. But what is love? Well, love is expansive. Love is limitless. Love is understanding. Love has no expectations, no judgments, no shame, no control. Even if someone is doing something wrong, of course, we all have triggers. I've mentioned that in another video as well. When you're in a state of love, limitless, expansive love, then there is such a profound understanding of people, of life, and of self, where those triggers will no longer continue to be activated, where instead there will be understanding and compassion and care, and love heals. When we're in a state of control, of expectations, of judgment, of taking things personally, of wanting to be treated a certain way or hanging on to love, then it is a very limited expression of self. And it is a limited energy frequency that is going to not only damage our experience within self, it's also going to reflect outwards. It's also going to have an impact in how we treat other people or how other people are going to feel around our energy. So it's very important to be aware of how we are feeling. And again, I've mentioned this before, awareness is key. Awareness heals. Heals within ourselves, heals within our outer world. Now, Going back to the examples, for example, if there has been a situation from childhood where there was no love and the parents were neglectful, and I'm talking emotionally, intellectually, psychologically, or physically, there are all these different aspects that play into how we have developed as adults, how we have been raised as children, and then have carried those energies through and experiences into our present moment, into who we are today. Now, if we have had neglect or abandonment, for example, again, on any level of emotionally, psychologically, mentally, physically, even spiritually, on a spiritual level, if we haven't felt any of those connections, then we are going to have the absence of true, authentic love, of what that really means. And then we'll go into subconscious programs of wanting to hold on to love, if there has been abandonment on any of those levels as well, really attaching to love and not wanting to let it go, or really emotionally attaching, physically attaching, mentally attaching to situations, to a person, to a family matter, for example. Really difficult to cut those ties. When you're in a frequency of love, of all expansiveness, there are no attachments. There are no needs. There's no longing and need to be attached to someone. And it doesn't mean that you can't be in a committed relationship. In fact, that means that you'll have a more powerful committed relationship. Now, if you don't want a committed relationship, that's fine. It's whatever your situation is. Even if you don't want a relationship, self-love is key. And we aren't taught how to take care of ourselves or love ourselves. And so we look outwardly for someone to fill that void within us, to fill that space that's empty within us, because we haven't been able to fill it within ourselves first. So I recommend this to many people. I've created content around this as well, that it's okay to spend time by yourself. I actually recommend it. I've spent the last several years by myself so that I can fix myself, so I can heal, so I can transform, and I can focus on all of these different aspects of my being, to dial this all in and to make sense of where I was, what programs and patterns had I developed within myself, how were they affecting my reality, and how can I let them go? Because where I was and how I was operating was not working. And because I had suffered from severe abandonment as a child, emotionally, psychologically, and physically, I had a really difficult time with letting go, holding on to relationships, really attached to love. And of course, because I was in a very bad place personally, I had low confidence, low self-esteem, I was attracting very toxic relationships. And it was very difficult to let those toxic relationships go, because also I would see love in those relationships. I would see love within those people. But then on the other side, there would be so much toxicity. So it would be really difficult to break free from that. This is just my example. But this is why it's so important to spend time by yourself, by ourselves, and to get in touch with our hearts, and to get in touch with who we are, and to start developing awareness with our senses. So the love aspect with self is crucial. Again, spending time by self. There's a lot of pressure around being in a relationship or feeling the need to be in a relationship. Now, those are the wrong reasons for being in a relationship. The relationship will find you in the right exact moment. There's also love within life, being open to the experiences in life. Now, when I say love, we automatically think a relationship, because society has really skewed the perceptions on the reality of love. Valentine's Day, for example, all the commercials, all the media around love and relationships and romance. And there are some moments that are quite nice about it, but it's a very, very limited way of viewing love. Again, love with life, being out in nature, being out in public, seeing the beauty with things, seeing the love with things, seeing the life with everyone, with all. That is love. Feeling deeply, being at peace again with self and with your surroundings and with life as a whole. Love with family. Now, I know this one can be tricky, and I've gone through this myself. Love with family. And even if you've had a difficult past and a difficult childhood, and a lot of us have, the majority of humanity has. If you've had a difficult childhood, coming to peace and forgiving the past is the most powerful thing you can do. It will liberate you, it will free your heart, and it will allow you to be comfortable and confident with yourself. And sometimes we have had difficult childhood or difficult family matters that still come back into the present moment or still around us in some kind of form. But it's up to us to manage our energy and to be aware of how those dynamics are affecting our emotions and how we can step into a powerful ability to love in return, even if it brings up stuff from the past, and even if it hurts us, and even if what maybe our family members are doing that is not right or is not healthy. It's up to us to not give energy to that. And I've mentioned this before as well. It's up to us to not give energy to that and to be at peace with the situation for ourselves. And I mentioned this before, if it means cutting out relationships, then that's what has to be done. We can't give ourselves two situations. This is our life. This is our story, ours, yours. So it's up to us as individuals to create it as we see fit in a healthy and abundant way. And then, of course, love relationships, with partnerships. Now, as I mentioned, if we've had difficulties in the past, again, abandonment, love starvation, not being heard, not being seen in the past in family life, abuse maybe, neglect, anger, all the energies that I've mentioned before from other videos, if we've grown up around that, then when a love partnership comes into our life, it becomes very tricky to navigate, because it brings up all of these old subconscious patterns that we have buried within us and within our heart. And a lot of us too will want love and will want a relationship, but then there may be part of us within that might be very closed down, that may have lost trust from situations from the past. It is a bit of a learning experience. But as I mentioned, awareness is key and awareness heals. And so the big secret is to not give into the subconscious programming, to be the observer, to create separation from the emotions and from the triggers and reactions, and to see them as an opportunity for learning and releasing. And then feeling into the energy of expansive love. Love is not from the 3D perspective of love, of ownership, of control, of expectations, of hurt, of pain, of anger, of holding on to emotions, of holding on to toxic cycles, of wanting, of needing, timelines, pressure, expectations again. So those are old, dense energies that are extremely limiting. And it not only limits ourselves, but it limits our ability to enjoy life fully. Then that's where the complaining comes in, and the resentment, and oh, this person did that, and I can't believe this happened. And, these stories go on and on and on until we can let them go, until we can actually start to separate and create a greater awareness around expansive love, take the higher ground, and forgive. And even if we have someone in our life who is continuously a pain in the butt, it's going to be up to us to deal with it in a constructive, healthy, compassionate, and loving way. It doesn't mean that the other person is doing something that is right or that we agree with, but it allows for us to be liberated from the energy that will hold us back or weigh us down, or distract us from fully being in that high vibrational frequency of love. So how do we get there? How do we get to this amazing feeling of love where nothing triggers us and life feels so complete and whole within ourselves? Well, it's work, and it's everything that I've been mentioning. It isn't a linear process. It's self-awareness. It's being aware. It's being gentle. It's being kind. Loving yourself first is essential. Again, like I said, don't feel bad spending time alone or lonely spending time alone. Being alone offers so much. It is actually a gift to have that. So seeing those times where you can spend time by yourself for meditation, for reflection, for feeling into what is love, going into the past and understanding your childhood and understanding how you were raised, and maybe connecting the dots with some of those patterns from the past so that you can make sense. And when our mind can go into the past and understand certain things and connect those dots, then we're able to let it go. We can process it, we can understand it, and it frees ourselves from something that has been in the background all our life that we haven't been able to see. Once we reach it, we can let it go. Then we make sense of things. Then we can move on. Then we can start building and constructing something better. Also paying attention to triggers, connecting with the heart. Is your heart open or is it closed? Are there any of those old dense energies from the past, the old paradigm energies that I just referenced, the expectations, the neediness, the wants, the judgments, the control, the criticism, the expectations? So even again, family or friends or in relationships, when those energies come up, and we all have them, we all go through this. This is part of our human experience. And I am speaking from experience. When we have those old energies come up, we need to be very aware of when they show up and to let them go, that they're not serving a constructive or healthy aspect of our experience or of our being. But we hold on to those energies because they're familiar, because maybe that's how we were raised. Maybe we had critical parents or judgmental parents or parents that had expectations on us, or maybe the parents had expectations on themselves as a partnership. How did they see and perceive love? And remember, we're coming out of a very dense timeline. We're coming out of a very repressed timeline where there was so much control. There was a very severe lack of love in our past, of what love really means. Love is fully expansive and liberating. And like I said, this has nothing to do with commitment in a relationship. In fact, it's going to empower a relationship being in this frequency more than what we have been used to, being in a relationship where maybe we wanted control, or we had expectations, or we wanted someone to treat us a certain way, or we wanted someone to call us at a certain time, or we wanted someone to do this, and this, live by certain standards and expectations. Those can be very limiting. So it's all around self-reflection. It's all around being curious. And that is the start. Just being curious and being open-minded and being true and honest with ourselves about how we are acting, how we are reacting, and how we are feeling within ourselves. And it is a process. It's not an overnight ordeal. It's not an overnight, there aren't going to be overnight results, but awareness again is key. And the more awareness and the more practice that you can incorporate within your daily life, the greater change you're going to witness. And it's going to happen faster and faster and faster if you commit. All right, so I hope this offered you some guidance when you need it the most. And I'll be seeing you very soon. Until next time, take care.